guys, it's Trina, and this is my spoiler-free series review of the Pasenger duology by Alexandra Bracken. The two books in this series are Pasenger and Wayfarer, and as of right now there aren't any short stories or novellas that go along with this series, but of course the author might decide to continue it in the future, but as of right now I'm just talking about these two books, and this is the completed series. So starting out with a summary of what these books are about, if you don't know, Pasenger is following a character named Etta, who is a violin prodigy. She lives with her mother. At the beginning of book one, Etta finds out that she actually has the ability to travel through time, and this is something that her mother could also do, but her mother has hidden that fact from her entire life. In this world, there are already set passages to another time and place. So not only do you travel back in time, you're traveling to a different location somewhere around the world. Only certain people are able to find and use the passages, like a normal person just wouldn't even be aware of it. And Etta is recruited by this ruler of the travelers to hunt down an artifact that they all suspect that her mother has stolen and hidden somewhere in time. I want to tell you about my experience with book one and book two. I had not read anything by Alexandra Bracken before I picked up Pasenger, and I really struggled getting into book one. It took me until halfway to really feel gripped by the story, because the first half of that story was so focused on meeting Etta and knowing who she was in the present, and then her learning about time travel's existence and that she can do it. It's all her finding out about this world, and the actual plot of the story isn't introduced until around the halfway point. From there, I did get really invested in the story, and I thought it was more fast-paced and thrilling. The first half was hard to get into, the second half made up for it in my opinion. The end of book one does leave off on a really big event that happens. It's kind of a cliffhanger, and that is really what propelled me into book two. I needed to know what was going to happen next, and I started the book, and the pace of it just had halted, because the things that happened at the end of book one means that book two has a little bit of a different structure, and things just had to slow down, stop, learn more information before you actually get back into it. Because this one has two points of view from characters who are in different places, it's like this minute you would get invested in what was happening to one of them, the point of view would switch and you'd change to the other storyline, and to me this was slowing down the pace. The final conclusion of the series felt kind of rushed. So much time was spent up on getting to that, and then it was only like a chapter long, and so I feel like I didn't have enough payoff at the end of Wayfarer for me to enjoy it very much. So whereas Pasenger made up for it in the end, and I ended up rating that book 4 stars, to me Wayfarer did not make up for it in the end, and I ended up giving that book 2 stars because I just looked back at the overall series, the overall plot, my overall feeling while reading it, and I felt boredom. I felt like I was over it. I felt like I didn't get what I wanted with that conclusion. So if you haven't read the series yet and you're wondering whether or not it's worth it to get into it, I think that it is a slow starter and that you will get invested in book one, but to me book two didn't pay off enough. Now I want to move more into the specific things that I like and dislike about this series, and I want to start out with the thing that I disliked the most, and which I've kind of been talking around in this whole video, is that I just am not a fan of Alexandra Bracken's writing style. Like I said, Pasenger was the first book of hers that I read, and in between Pasenger and Wayfarer coming out, I also picked up The Darkest Minds by her, and I enjoy all of her stories. I really enjoy the premise that she puts out, but I don't enjoy the writing, the execution of it, because she has these worlds and these characters that are so full of action, but her writing is very, very bogged down with descriptions. One example of this is where, like in the dialogue, you'll have a character ask someone a question, and then your character will sit there and be like, let me think about this, and then let me get into like a flashback about the things that go into me answering this question, and then I'm gonna talk about the room and the wallpaper and the place settings on this table and what this person in front of me looks like, and then I'm going to answer them, but it's been 3 pages since the question was asked that I don't even remember what the question was anymore, so I have to go back a few pages and figure out what on earth are they even talking about. I have forgotten. I feel like this story is one that calls for more of a faster pace because it is really action-packed. There's a lot happening here. So often just like the brakes are thrown on the pace so that we can stop and describe the setting. To be fair, since the Pasenger series is set all around the world, I do think a lot of detail and flowery writing is warranted to a certain extent, and in the first book, Pasenger, I did really feel like Alexandra Bracken did a great job at setting the scene. There were many moments where we were at some new place and I was like, wow, I really feel like I'm there. And there was one setting in Wayfarer that I really felt I was enjoying the vibes from her descriptions and from the atmosphere that she was creating. But overall, I really just feel like this is a series and a plot that called for more action and a faster pace. There's something about the way in which she inserts the descriptions and just the way in which she is wordy that doesn't work well for me. It loses my attention and I just don't even want to continue the story. This is definitely a me thing. I'm not trying to tell you that she's a bad writer. I think that she is a skilled writer. She has a good craft. I'm just saying that it's not a fit for me personally. And I think that the best way that you'll know is if you've read anything else by Alexandra Bracken. If you've read her Darkest Minds series, whatever you felt about the writing in that seems to be the same way that you might feel about the writing in Pasenger. If you felt that any part of the first book in this series was slow, you will probably still feel the same way about Wayfarer. But moving into what I liked, I loved the travel, all the different settings that we saw in these books. I did really end up enjoying the side characters in Wayfarer. So there's a character named Sophia who you meet in book 1, and I really enjoyed what was done with her character and her development in book 2. She became one of my favorites in the series. There are 2 new characters introduced in Wayfarer. There is the Belladonna character and there is Lee Min, who's just kind of like a side character who you don't really know where her alliances lie, and I did really enjoy the addition of both of these characters, and I felt like honestly they were the better developed ones. And it's just a really odd feeling when you're more invested in these side characters than the main characters and what their goals are. And I think that's part of the reason why I didn't enjoy the ending of Wayfarer, because you have this ending that focuses on one of the main characters, but these side characters, just like, you have no idea really what happens to them. I also want to quickly mention the diversity that is included in this series. This is not an Own Voices book, but Nicholas is one of our point of view characters. He's a main character and he is the romantic interest, and he is black, whereas Etta was white. And there is a side character who is Chinese, and there is a female-female relationship that is present in the second book. In the end, I would recommend this series to people who like time travel adventures that will take you all around the world. And I do want to point out, I don't think I've said this in the review yet, but Nicholas is a character who is a legal pirate. I don't think there's a very strong piratey feel, but if you like pirate-esque characters, I think you would really enjoy Nicholas. I think you'd also enjoy this story if you want something that has a romance without a love triangle, and the only real reason that I could say that I think you wouldn't enjoy this story is if you have already experienced trouble with Alexandra Bracken's writing. If you feel like her writing is too slow, I am not sure how much you would enjoy this series. But if you have read her series before and you really enjoyed her writing, you thought it was beautiful, you'll probably feel the same way about this series. So hopefully those are some good indications of whether or not you would enjoy this one. Those are all of my thoughts on the Pasenger Duology by Alexandra Bracken. If you guys have any questions about characters, content, themes, and stuff that you like or dislike and you want to know if they are present in this series and I didn't cover it, please ask me that down below and I'll let you know there. If you've read this one, I would love to know if you liked it or if you disliked it. We can definitely chat more down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the comments. Bye!